In a small town nestled in the Colorado Rockies, life moved at a slow and peaceful pace. Alex Carter, a tall man with calloused hands from years of working as an engineer before turning to farming, lived there with his wife, Claire. She was a kind woman who always had a warm smile for everyone she met. Together, they spent their days tending to their modest farm, growing vegetables, and raising chickens. It was simple, quiet, and predictable, until one evening when everything changed. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Alex and Claire decided to take a walk through their backyard to enjoy the cool breeze that came with dusk. The air smelled fresh, carrying hints of pine trees from the nearby forest. As they strolled hand in hand, a strange sound began to fill the air. At first, it was faint, a low hum, almost like distant thunder, but it grew louder and more intense by the second. Claire stopped walking and looked up at the sky. "Do you hear that?" she asked, her voice tinged with unease. Alex nodded silently, his eyes scanning the heavens above. Before either of them could say another word, something massive appeared over the mountains. A huge object descended slowly, blocking out the stars. It shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting the last traces of sunlight in eerie patterns. The ground beneath their feet vibrated slightly as if responding to the sheer weight of whatever this thing was. "What is that?" Claire whispered, gripping Alex's arm tightly. He didn't answer. He couldn't. His mind raced, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. Whatever it was, it wasn't human-made. Its size alone made it impossible to ignore. It stretched across the sky, larger than any airplane or satellite they'd ever seen. Word spread quickly through the town. Neighbors poured out of their homes, pointing and gasping at the sight. Within hours, military vehicles arrived, kicking up clouds of dust as they sped down the narrow roads. Soldiers wearing uniforms bearing the insignia of the United States Army set up barricades and ordered everyone to stay inside. General Harper, a stern-looking man with sharp features and a commanding presence, addressed the townspeople through loudspeakers. "Stay indoors," he barked. "This is not a drill." Alex and Claire returned to their house but found it hard to settle down. They sat by the window, watching as soldiers patrolled the streets and helicopters circled overhead. On every TV channel, news anchors spoke frantically about the mysterious object hovering above the Rockies. Speculation ran wild. Is it a meteor? A secret government experiment gone wrong? Or something far more sinister? Then, without warning, the object emitted a deep, resonant tone that seemed to shake not just the ground, but also the very air around them. A message followed, booming so loudly that it felt like it came from everywhere at once. Asterisk, we allowed you to live once. Never again. Asterisk. Those few words sent chills down Alex's spine. Claire clutched his hand, her knuckles white. Neither of them needed to ask what it meant. The tone was clear. This wasn't a friendly visit. Panic erupted across the globe as reports confirmed similar sightings in other countries. World leaders scrambled to respond, while ordinary people huddled together, unsure of what to do next. Some packed bags, preparing to flee into the wilderness. Others prayed, hoping for divine intervention. But Alex felt frozen, unable to act. Something about those chilling words stuck in his mind. Who were these beings, and why had they come now? As night fell, the alien ship remained suspended in the sky, casting long shadows over the valley. Lights flickered along its surface, pulsating rhythmically like a heartbeat. Alex stared at it, feeling a mix of fear and curiosity. He knew deep down that this event would change everything, not just for him and Claire, but for all of humanity. And yet, despite the dread creeping into his chest, part of him wondered if maybe, just maybe, there was still hope. The next morning, the world woke up to chaos. News channels broadcast non-stop updates about the alien ship, which had now been spotted in multiple locations around the globe. In New York City, Dr. Emily Dawson sat in her small apartment, staring at her laptop screen. a respected astrophysicist known for her work on extraterrestrial communication theories. She had been contacted late last night by a government official. They wanted her help, urgently. Emily hesitated before answering the call. She was used to studying distant stars and planets, not dealing with real-life alien invasions. Still, she couldn't ignore the gravity of the situation. By sunrise, she was already on a military helicopter heading to a secret facility outside Washington, D.C. There, she joined a team of scientists and engineers tasked with figuring out how to communicate with the invaders. Back in Colorado, Alex, Carter, and Claire tried to go about their day as normally as possible, but it was impossible. Soldiers patrolled the streets, and drones buzzed overhead, scanning every inch of the town. General Harper made another announcement over loudspeakers. All citizens must remain indoors. Do not attempt to approach or interfere with the visitors. His tone was firm, almost angry, as though he expected people to disobey. Alex couldn't shake off the feeling that something bigger was coming. He spent hours pacing their living room, glancing out the window at the massive ship still hovering above the mountains. Claire tried to distract herself by baking bread, but even the comforting smell of yeast rising in the kitchen didn't ease her nerves. "What are we supposed to do?" she asked finally, breaking the silence. Alex shook his head. "I don't know," he admitted, "but sitting here won't help." Meanwhile, Emily's team worked tirelessly at the facility. They analyzed data collected from the ship's electromagnetic signals, searching for patterns or codes that might reveal its intentions. Emily quickly realized that the aliens' language wasn't like anything humans had encountered before. It was mathematical, based on complex equations rather than words. But buried within those equations were fragments of meaning. Slowly, they began piecing together bits of the message. At the same time, governments worldwide debated their next move. Some leaders argued for immediate retaliation, while others pushed for negotiation. Tensions ran high, especially when reports came in that all nuclear weapons and communication satellites had been disabled. Humanity's most powerful tools were useless against this new threat. General Harper appeared on television again, his face grim. "We have confirmed that the aliens possess technology far beyond our own," he said. "They have rendered us defenseless. However, we believe there may still be a chance to negotiate. We are assembling a team to attempt contact." The announcement sparked both hope and fear among the public. Could diplomacy really work against such an advanced species? That evening, Alex received a knock on his door. Two soldiers stood outside, holding a letter with the official seal of the U.S. government. "Mr. Carter," one of them said, "you've been selected to assist in efforts to communicate with the visitors. Please come with us immediately." Alex froze, unsure whether to feel honored or terrified. Claire hugged him tightly, tears welling up in her eyes. "Be careful," she whispered. "Promise me you'll come back." As Alex left with the soldiers, he glanced back at his wife standing in the doorway. Her worried expression stayed with him as they drove away. He didn't know what lay ahead, but he knew one thing for certain. Humanity's fate rested on decisions made in the coming days. And somewhere deep inside, he hoped he could make a difference, even if it seemed unlikely. Over the next few hours, Emily's team prepared for a potential meeting with the aliens. Using the decoded fragments of their language, they created a basic response, hoping it would convey peace and cooperation. The plan was risky, but it was the only option left. As Alex arrived at the facility, he met Emily for the first time. She explained the situation calmly, her voice steady despite the weight of the task ahead. "We don't know if they'll listen," Emily said, "but we have to try." Alex nodded, determination replacing his earlier uncertainty. Whatever happened next, he knew they had no choice but to face it together. As Alex settled into the makeshift command center, he couldn't help but feel out of place. The room buzzed with activity. Scientists typed furiously on laptops. Engineers tinkered with strange devices, and military personnel barked orders over radios. Emily Dawson stood at the center of it all, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos around her. She noticed Alex's unease and approached him. "You're here because you understand people," she said gently. "That's something we desperately need right now." Alex nodded, though he wasn't sure how much help he could really offer. He was just a farmer from a small town, not someone trained for situations like this. Still, he listened intently as Emily explained their plan. They would send a simple message to the alien ship, one designed to show humanity's willingness to cooperate. It wasn't much, but it was a start. While the government worked on diplomacy, others weren't waiting patiently. In a hidden bunker beneath an abandoned warehouse in Denver, Jake Miller sat hunched over a table covered in blueprints and wires. A former Marine with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense attitude, Jake had spent years fighting wars and knew firsthand the cost of conflict. But this time, it wasn't just about protecting his country. It was about saving the entire human race. Jake's team consisted of unlikely allies. Sarah Bennett, a skilled medic with quick hands and a brave heart. Ethan Cole, a tech-savvy teenager who could hack almost anything. And Lisa Torres, a mechanic who could fix or build just about anything with enough scrap metal. Together, they called themselves the Resistance. Their goal was clear: to fight back against the invaders, even if it seemed hopeless. Their first target was a group of alien drones patrolling the outskirts of Denver. These machines were smaller than the massive mothership but still intimidating, hovering silently above the ground and scanning everything in sight. Using parts scavenged from old electronics, Ethan had built crude EMP devices capable of disabling the drones temporarily. The plan was risky, but they didn't have many options. Under the cover of darkness, the team moved quietly through the deserted streets. Jake led the way, his rifle slung across his shoulder, while Sarah carried a medical kit and Lisa lugged the heavy EMP device. Ethan stayed close behind, clutching a tablet that displayed live footage from hacked surveillance cameras. When they reached the designated spot, Lisa placed the EMP device on the ground and activated it. A low hum filled the air, followed by a series of loud pops as nearby drones suddenly dropped from the sky. For a moment, there was silence. Then cheers erupted among the group. It was a small victory, but it gave them hope. However, their celebration was short-lived. Reinforcements arrived quickly, more drones, faster and deadlier than the ones they'd taken down. Jake shouted orders, urging everyone to retreat. As they ran, Sarah stumbled and fell, twisting her ankle badly. Without hesitation, Jake scooped her up and carried her to safety, bullets narrowly missing them as they fled. Back at the bunker, tensions ran high. Sarah lay on a cot, her leg bandaged but still throbbing with pain. Lisa paced back and forth, muttering under her breath about how reckless the mission had been. Even Ethan looked shaken, his usual confidence replaced by doubt. Only Jake remained composed, though his jaw was clenched tightly. "We can't stop," he said firmly. "If we do, they win." Meanwhile, Alex and Emily continued their efforts at the facility. The response they sent to the alien ship hadn't yielded any results yet, leaving everyone anxious. Emily spent long hours poring over data, searching for clues about the aliens' motives. Alex watched her work, amazed by her focus and determination. Despite the odds, she refused to give up. One night, as they took a break, Emily confided in Alex. "I keep thinking about what they said," she admitted, referring to the ominous message broadcast by the aliens. "We allowed you to live once. Never again. What does that mean? Have they judged us already?" Alex thought for a moment before answering. "Maybe they see all the bad things we've done. Wars, pollution, greed. But they don't know the good things too. The kindness, the creativity, the love." Emily smiled faintly. "Let's hope they're willing to listen." Though separated by miles and circumstances, both groups shared the same goal: survival. Whether through diplomacy or resistance, humanity was determined to fight for its future. But time was running out, and the question lingered: would it be enough? The next morning, General Harper called an emergency meeting at the facility. Alex and Emily were summoned to a large conference room where military officers and scientists gathered around a table cluttered with maps, screens, and notebooks. The air was tense, and everyone spoke in hushed tones. Harper stood at the head of the table, his face grave. "We've received new information," he began. "The aliens have agreed to meet, but only under strict conditions." Emily leaned forward, her heart racing. "What kind of conditions?" she asked. "They want representatives from Earth to board their ship," Harper replied. "5 people, no weapons, no tricks. If we comply, they'll hear us out. If not..." He didn't finish the sentence, but the implication hung heavy in the room. Alex felt a lump form in his throat. This was it, the moment they'd been preparing for. But who would go? The risk was enormous. Still, someone had to step up. Emily volunteered immediately, her determination unwavering. "I can help translate," she said firmly. "If there's any chance of communication, I need to be there." Harper nodded slowly. "We'll also need someone who understands ordinary people, someone who represents the everyday human experience." His gaze landed on Alex. "You." Alex hesitated. He wasn't a soldier or a scientist. He was just a farmer. How could he possibly contribute? But then he thought of Claire waiting back home, and all the others counting on them. Swallowing his fear, he nodded. "Okay," he said quietly. "I'll do it." 2 more members joined the team. Dr. Rachel Kim, a biologist who specialized in extraterrestrial ecosystems, and Lieutenant Daniel Ross, a calm and steady officer chosen for his combat skills. Together, the 5 prepared for what might be the most important mission in human history. The alien ship loomed above them as they approached in a small shuttle provided by the military. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting the sunlight in dazzling patterns. As they drew closer, Alex felt a strange sensation, a mix of awe and dread. The ship was unlike anything he'd ever seen, its design both beautiful and terrifying. Once aboard, the humans marveled at their surroundings. The walls seemed alive, pulsating faintly with light. Gravity shifted unpredictably, making each step feel uncertain. They were led to a vast chamber where a towering figure awaited them. It was Cal 7, an alien being whose presence commanded respect. Its body was sleek and metallic, with glowing symbols etched into its skin. When it spoke, its voice resonated like thunder, filling the room with power. Through a translator device crafted by Emily, Cal 7 delivered its message. "Your species has been monitored for centuries," it said. "Your history is one of conflict, destruction, and disregard for life. We are enforcers of a galactic council. You have been judged unworthy." Alex stepped forward, his hands trembling but his voice steady. "Not all humans are like that," he said. "Yes, we've made mistakes, but we're capable of change. Look at how far we've come. Our art, our science, our compassion. Please, give us another chance." Cal 7 paused, its glowing eyes fixed on Alex. For a moment, no one spoke. Then, it responded. "Prove it. Show us unity within 48 hours, or face annihilation." As the delegation returned to Earth, Alex couldn't shake the weight of Cal 7's words. Humanity had 2 days to come together, to show that they deserved to survive. Failure wasn't an option. But how could billions of people unite in such a short time? Back at the facility, Emily worked tirelessly, analyzing every detail of the encounter. She knew the aliens weren't just looking for empty promises. They wanted action. Meanwhile, Alex reached out to Claire over a secure line. Her voice brought him comfort, but it also reminded him of what was at stake. "We can do this," she told him firmly. "Just believe." In Denver, Jake and his team heard about the ultimatum. Though skeptical of diplomacy, they decided to focus their efforts on helping humanity rise to the challenge. Using hacked broadcasts, they spread messages of hope and resilience, urging people to set aside differences and work together. 48 hours. That was all they had. And as the clock began ticking, the world held its breath, waiting to see if humanity could rise to the occasion or fall forever. The 48-hour deadline weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Across the globe, nations scrambled to respond. Leaders held emergency meetings, debating strategies and arguing over who should take charge. In some places, protests erupted as people demanded action. In others, communities came together, organizing rallies and vigils to show solidarity. The message was clear: humanity had to unite or face extinction. Alex Carter returned to Colorado after the meeting with Cal 7, his heart pounding with urgency. He knew time was running out, and he couldn't just sit back and wait for someone else to save them. With Claire by his side, he began reaching out to neighbors, friends, and even strangers. Using social media and local radio stations, they encouraged people to set aside their differences and focus on what truly mattered: survival. "We're all in this together," Alex said during one broadcast. "If we want to live, we have to prove that we deserve it." Claire worked tirelessly alongside him, helping organize food drives and community cleanups. Their small town became a model of cooperation, inspiring others to follow suit. Stories of kindness spread quickly, people sharing resources, volunteering their time, and finding ways to help those in need. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Meanwhile, Jake Miller and his team continued their resistance efforts, targeting alien installations in Denver. They knew diplomacy might not be enough, so they focused on disrupting the invaders' operations. Using stolen alien technology and makeshift weapons, they launched a daring attack on a supply depot near the city limits. The mission was risky, but Jake believed it was worth it. Every drone they disabled, every piece of equipment they destroyed, bought humanity a little more time. During one raid, Sarah Bennett noticed something unusual: a strange device emitting a low hum. She pointed it out to Ethan Cole, who examined it closely. "This looks like some kind of communication relay," he said, his voice tinged with excitement. "If we can sabotage it, we might disrupt their network." But disabling the device came at a cost. As they worked, alarms blared, and reinforcements arrived faster than expected. Bullets whizzed past, forcing the team to retreat hastily. In the chaos, Sarah stayed behind to cover their escape. "Go," she shouted, firing her weapon to hold off the advancing drones. By the time Jake realized what she was doing, it was too late. An explosion rocked the area, and Sarah disappeared in the smoke. Back at the bunker, the team mourned her loss. Jake clenched his fists, anger and guilt swirling inside him. "She gave her life for us," he said quietly. "We can't let it be for nothing." In New York City, Emily Dawson worked around the clock, analyzing data from the alien ship and coordinating global efforts. She collaborated with scientists and engineers worldwide, pooling knowledge and resources to find solutions. Late one night, she received a breakthrough. A fragment of the alien language hinted at a possible weakness in their defenses. Sharing the discovery with General Harper, she urged him to act quickly. As the hours ticked away, humanity's response grew stronger. Thousands gathered in major cities, holding signs that read, "We are one," and lighting candles in unison. Social media buzzed with messages of hope and unity. Even enemies put aside old grudges, working together toward a common goal. It wasn't easy, and tensions still flared occasionally, but the overall spirit of cooperation was undeniable. Alex stood in the middle of his town square, watching as people sang songs and shared stories. Children played nearby, oblivious to the looming threat above. For the first time since the aliens arrived, he felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, humanity could pull through. But deep down, he knew the hardest part was yet to come. The aliens had given them a chance, but proving themselves worthy would require more than words or gestures. It would take action and sacrifice. As the clock struck midnight, marking the halfway point of the ultimatum, Alex whispered a silent prayer. "Please," he murmured, looking up at the stars. "Let us be enough." With less than 24 hours left, Alex and Claire stood in their town square, watching as people prepared for the final push. Across the globe, humanity was making one last effort to show unity. In New York City, massive crowds gathered in Times Square, holding banners that read, "Together we stand." In London, people formed human chains around landmarks, lighting candles and singing songs of peace. Even in war-torn regions, temporary ceasefires were declared as enemies joined forces to face the greater threat. Alex felt a mix of pride and fear as he looked at the faces around him. People from all walks of life had come together: farmers, teachers, doctors, and even former rivals. They shared food, offered help, and worked side by side without hesitation. It wasn't perfect, but it was proof that humanity could rise above its flaws when it mattered most. Still, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that it might not be enough. The aliens had seen centuries of Earth's history. They knew the worst of humanity just as well as the best. At the same time, Jake Miller and his team were putting the finishing touches on their boldest plan yet. Using the information Ethan had uncovered about the alien communication relay, they devised a way to infiltrate the mothership itself. Their goal was simple: disable its primary weapon systems, giving humanity a fighting chance if negotiations failed. It was a suicide mission, but none of them hesitated. "If we can buy everyone more time," Jake said firmly, "it'll be worth it." Under the cover of darkness, the team approached the ship. Lisa carried a small explosive device designed to overload the core chamber, while Ethan monitored the ship's internal systems using a hacked tablet. Jake led the way, his rifle ready despite knowing it would do little against advanced alien technology. As they entered the ship, the air grew heavy and strange lights pulsed along the walls. Every step felt like walking into the unknown. They reached the core chamber after navigating through labyrinthine corridors. The room hummed with energy, filled with glowing conduits and intricate machinery. Lisa placed the explosive carefully, setting the timer for 10 minutes. "We need to move fast," she whispered, her voice tense. But as they turned to leave, alarms blared, and drones appeared, blocking their path. Jake shouted orders, urging the others to retreat. Sarah limped forward, having recovered enough to join the mission despite her injury. "I'll hold them off," she said, her voice steady. Before anyone could argue, she raised her weapon and fired, drawing the drone's attention. Tears filled Jake's eyes, but he forced himself to keep moving. "Let's go," he yelled, pulling Ethan and Lisa away. Back on Earth, Alex faced Cal 7 once more aboard the alien ship. This time, he brought stories of humanity's recent efforts, the acts of kindness, the sacrifices, the willingness to cooperate. He spoke of Sarah's bravery, of strangers helping each other, and of communities coming together. His voice trembled, but his words carried conviction. "We're not perfect," he admitted, "but we're trying. Isn't that worth something?" Cal 7 listened silently, its glowing eyes fixed on Alex. For a moment, there was no response. Then it spoke. "Your species has shown potential," it said slowly. "But potential is fragile. Time will tell if you can sustain it." As the clock struck 0, the alien fleet remained suspended above Earth. Humanity waited anxiously, unsure of what would happen next. Would this be the end or a new beginning? The final moments felt like an eternity. Across the globe, people held their breath, staring up at the alien ships that still loomed ominously in the sky. In Colorado, Alex and Claire stood hand in hand outside their home, watching as the massive vessel above the mountains pulsed with light. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the ground beneath their feet. It was impossible to tell whether the aliens were preparing to attack or simply waiting. Inside the mothership, Cal 7 addressed Alex one last time. "Your species has demonstrated resilience," it said, its voice resonating deeply. "You have shown glimpses of unity and purpose. This is rare among those we judge. For a moment, Alex dared to hope. But Kel 7's next words brought both relief and unease. "We will grant you a probationary period. Your actions during this time will determine your fate." With that, the towering figure turned away, signaling the end of the meeting. Alex hurried back to the shuttle, his mind racing. What did probationary period mean? How long did they have? And what would happen if humanity failed again? Despite the uncertainty, he knew one thing for sure: they had been given another chance. As Alex returned to Earth, Jake and his team emerged from the alien ship, battered but alive. The core chamber explosion had worked, disabling key systems and buying humanity precious time. Sarah's sacrifice had not been in vain. Though grief weighed heavily on them, the team found solace in knowing they had made a difference. Jake vowed to honor her memory by continuing the fight, no matter how hard it got. News of the aliens' decision spread quickly. General Harper appeared on television, his expression a mix of relief and caution. "The invaders have agreed to withdraw, for now," he announced. "But let this be a warning. Our survival depends on us. If we cannot prove ourselves worthy, they will return." His words echoed across the world, reminding everyone that the struggle was far from over. In New York City, Emily Dawson watched the broadcast with mixed emotions. She felt pride in what humanity had achieved, but also fear for the future. Late that night, she sat alone in her apartment, staring at the stars. Humanity had been judged unworthy once before, but now they had a second chance. It was up to them to make it count. Alex returned home to find Claire waiting anxiously on the porch. When she saw him step out of the car, she ran to him, throwing her arms around him tightly. "It's going to be okay," he whispered, though he wasn't entirely sure himself. They spent the evening sitting together under the stars, talking about what lay ahead. There was so much work to do, so many wounds to heal, but for the first time in days, there was hope. Jake visited Sarah's grave the following morning, placing a single flower on the mound of fresh earth. Tears streamed down his face, but he didn't try to hide them. "Thank you," he murmured. "We won't forget what you did." He promised himself, and her, that he would keep fighting, no matter the cost. Over the coming weeks, humanity began rebuilding. Efforts to clean up the environment gained momentum, and nations worked harder than ever to resolve conflicts peacefully. People volunteered in record numbers, helping those in need and fostering connections between communities. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. Still, the memory of the aliens' message lingered. *, "We allowed you to live once. Never again." *, it served as a constant reminder that survival wasn't guaranteed. Humanity had been given a reprieve, but the final judgment was yet to come. For now, though, they had hope, and sometimes that was enough.